Okay, this is shot at the west end of Big Bear Lake in California. We're at 7,600 feet. The lake level is about 6,700, so we're a little bit above it. And we're approaching the canyon, the dam actually, on the west end. On this view you can see down in the very bottom the canyon that we're going to fly into and then turn left to go down. There's higher terrain directly out to the west, and if you follow the canyon down as we're turning into making the left turn now, it drops down into the Los Angeles basin. You can see the white horizon line out there, which tells you whether the terrain is above you or below you. You can also see the velocity vector, which is that round circle in the middle with the little wings and the tail sticking up, which give you an idea of where the aircraft's actually pointed at this time. For instance, right there, it was pointed right at that ridge. Now it's above the ridge a little bit. Continuing a gentle left turn to exit the canyon and head down into the LA basin. Now in a minute here we're going to turn around and shoot this going back up. Now what I didn't tell you is that first video was shot in daylight, and this one is actually shot in the middle of the night, or late at night. It's dark, but that doesn't make any difference to synthetic vision. We're headed up the canyon to the north. Big Bear Lake is to our right and ahead, so we go in and then turn right up that path to the right, and we'll see that in a minute. But I think first I have some map selection here. There we go, is the map. That's out at a distant range. I'm going to zoom it in, but you can see Big Bear Lake up and to the right, and the canyon that we fly up to get there straight ahead. On this line on this view you can also see the line which is extending out from the runway. It's almost perpendicular to our path, and we're going to use that to go up and intercept the final approach for runway 08 at Big Bear Lake. Now we're looking through the primary flight display again. You can see the hills again up front. You can see the white horizon line above them, and off in the distance you can see the mountains that are beyond the ridge line that's immediately ahead of us. In the right turn you can see that the velocity vector is right on the horizon, which means that we're not climbing or descending. We're also 1,915 feet above the touchdown zone because I have the synthetic approach selected, which we'll see in a little bit. There's Big Bear Lake. We're coming up over the dam at the west end, and you can see how it sits in a valley up there at around a little less than 7,000 feet. Very pretty spot. Here again is the view of the extended runway center line for runway 08. We're going to intercept that about a mile out from the runway, and now we're going back to take a look at what that looks like for real out the PFD. Again, you can see the white horizon line. It's above all the terrain, which means if I just flew level, I wouldn't hit a thing. But right now, since the velocity vector was below the horizon, I'm actually descending. Now you can see the synthetic approach with the highway in the sky boxes beginning to appear. I'm flying to the right of the center line because there's population on that shoreline, and the request for pilots flying into Big Bear is to stay out over the lake. So I'm just fudging to the right a little bit, but I'm keeping the velocity vector about level with the center of those boxes, and that will keep me on an approximate glide slope. Here I'm a little bit higher because there's some houses that I wanted to avoid, and also a flashing red light on the hill that I wanted to avoid. So we're coming on in towards the runway, 1.8 nautical miles ahead. Synthetic approach is captured because I've put the velocity vector into the box, and now we'll go ahead and fly that on down, trying to get closer to being on center line for a real landing. Flying the approach a little more than 70 knots. You can see we're passing through 370 feet above the touchdown zone. That's derived through GPS numbers, and it's actually quite accurate if the GPS is accurate. Down to 270 feet, approaching in, we've got 1.1 miles to go, actually less than that. Now, you can see how the boxes are now truncated at the bottom. The bottom of those boxes, they now look like staples, are actually resting on the terrain level. So it gives you a more intuitive sense of where the actual terrain is as you approach. We're down to 120 feet, 100 feet, 70 knots, coming in for a landing, 70 feet. And when we finally touch down, you'll see a little bit of a bobble as we flare, and touch, we're down to 24 feet, 15 feet, single digits. There's the touchdown. And as we roll down the runway, it's showing -1 feet, which is pretty accurate as we decelerate here.